Hey, what's up? I'm Yelawolf.
This is Shooter Jennings, or sometimes
We are
Why.
sometimes why, baby, here on Front Row Live.
For starters, Yella, I've been a fan of yours for a while, since Love Story when we talked at Glass House back in 2014. Shooter, this is actually my first introduction to you, and I'm so excited that this is it because this is incredible. So I want to talk about like that team up between the two of you and coming together and creating Sometimes Why.
We've been good friends for, I don't know, 11, 12 years, introduced by by uh, my brother, basically, Struggle Jennings, William Harness, and Shooter and I were like passing as kids around, neighborhoods, church, around kind of the same crowd. Our parents were running around the same circle, but we never met as kids. But yeah, we reconnected basically about 12 years ago, and I was already a huge fan of Shooters, um, and I went to see him play at the Masquerade, the old Masquerade in Atlanta, and after that we went to the Claremont Lounge, had some beers, and just started talking creative. And next day he came over to my place in Atlanta, and we kind of just set the seed there that we were going to make some music. And we've done music sporadically over the years, like a session here and there, a hook feature, and we're just trying stuff out. But at some point it clicked with us that we needed to do something serious and start really mulling over ideas to create an album. But we didn't know what we were going to do. We just knew we were going to do something, and we didn't know what it was going to sound like. None of that. We just started playing with ideas, and fast forward to now, Sometimes Why is official.
As you guys went into the studio to start working on this, what was that chemistry like now that there was actually like a release about to happen? It was magic for me. It felt like it was bottled up for years, and we were just waiting for it to actually happen. It was kind of scary, but it was at the same time because, I wanted to go in and kill it, but it was like the unknown. It was like venturing into the unknown we've been waiting for 10 years,
Yeah, for sure. It was like we started making music. First of all, he sent me an acoustic piece during, and I wrote a record to it and recorded a vocal like literally underneath my stairs, in the little attic closet space that I turned into a studio during quarantine. And he loved it. And I didn't think it was that special, but he heard something. He's like, "Holy shit, man! I think we need to get in the studio seriously." So at that point we started planning a session, which ended up being Sunset Sound LA. So when we pulled into the studio, it was my first time meeting the entire band. Everyone in the room besides Shooter, I was meeting for the first time. And once we cracked the code, which I don't know what record it was in particular. I want to say it may have been Radio or Jump Out the Window. It was a particular record where we kind of stood up and looked at each other like, "Holy shit, man, we're a band. Like, this is a band." And I felt like, damn, is this what I've been waiting for? Is this what I've been waiting for all these years? Because it's just like I've always felt a little I was waiting to be unhinged. I didn't know how to do it. It's like doing a record with Travis Barker, Psycho White, or going in the studio for Trial by Fire and doing a record Wynonna Judd, Lee Brice, Joshua Headley, or from that to like Tim Armstrong from Rancid, and trying to find a pocket to just let let loose with singing and songwriting. And I felt like this was the record and this was the moment. So
do you feel like this kind of helped you discover yourself? Is that what you're saying?
no, I wouldn't say it helped me to discover myself, because certainly hip hop and music that I've done so far in my career has helped me discover who I am throughout the years. What this did was give me a platform, a foundation to translate an energy that I've just been like, that's just like he said, it's just been bottled up, and I've heard a few times people say, man, I didn't know you could sing. I didn't know you were a singer. And I scratch my head like, damn, I guess they never heard Till It's Gone. I guess they never heard Best Friend. I guess they never heard these records I was singing on. But then I realized, oh, that's not it. They just don't hear singing because of the music. The music is not giving me the palette for them to even hear me singing, because they're just hearing hip hop. So what Shooter did is gave me the palette of music to allow me not only to express myself, but for people to absorb the vocals. And the record just molded into this rock and roll album. And it could have been anything, but it turned into just a pure rock and roll record.
Now, Shooter, like I love the dynamics that we get on this record. What was that like for you, like kind of coming together and figuring out what kind of sounds and styles we would be listening or getting out of this record?
It was pretty organic. I mean, there were two songs that I had made demos for leading into it. I mean, actually, that's not true. I made like 10 or 12, but we only used two of them. And then once we got in with John Schreffler and Jamie Douglas and Ted Russell Camp, we just started like making stuff up. There was like, I think it was after we got through those first two tunes, which was like Hole in My Head and Rock and Roll Baby. We started listening to stuff, and Yelawolf made the decision. He was like, why don't we just make it up? Let's make it up on the spot. And that's like the scariest and most exciting thing possible, because these guys, I've been playing with some of them, Ted, for 20 something years. And so we have this long relationship of playing many shows and working on many projects together. So we're all ready to do it on the spot, but not, we just kind of started messing with stuff, and stuff came out. I mean, like Radio was sitting in the courtyard at Sunset Sound, and John Schreffler was playing guitar, and we were just messing around with chord changes. And then next thing you knew, we get in there to start cutting stuff, and it was like, okay, let's leave the first beat of the bass and guitar out, so it's and like we just started making these little tweaks and these little changes, and like, what if we do this? And then boom, 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 and then we had like a tune. And then we went to like, Make Me a Believer, which was like he had a tempo that he wanted, and so we kind of chased a tempo, and we're making kind of calls on the spot of where the chord changes would go, or like Jump Out the Window with, he got in, I was late to the studio that day by like 10 minutes. And when I got in, he had already laid down the kind of vocal loop that he made with his mouth with the claps, and Jamie's about to do the drums. And then it was like, okay, what music do we put with this? And I had my DX7, I was sitting there trying some different things. And eventually I was like just two notes and changing one of the notes, like, and that became that song, so it was like pure experimentation, and it was just fun all the way to the very last minute. Every minute of the studio was used, and it was a crazy time that the world was changing. There was all outside the studio, helicopters, cops, National Guard and stuff, and it was just like such a surreal experience that when you look back on it, you're like, I don't know how we did it. I mean, what I said is what happened, but like, it was definitely something really special. And we knew it like by day two. I mean, by day one, we knew it, but by day two, we were like making real magic. And it was just really exciting. It's really cool.
Yelawolf, how did you kind of challenge yourself and step out of your comfort zone as far as like vocals and ranges and different dynamics with this record?
Um, yeah, well, there's certain like vocal notes that were, well, first of all, I call my buddy Peter Keys. He's a piano player for Leonard Skinner. He played with Funkadelic. You know, he's a genius with he can hear, you know, he can hear notes like exactly what they are, or that's, you know, A diminished or whatever, just by ear or whatever, and I don't know that, like I everything I know is just by ear. I can't read music, and I can't, as of yet. I'm starting to learn, how to map out chords and what they are. And so I knew I needed someone in the room to make sure I was doing the shit right, really right. And so I just thought it'd be good if I had a really good piano player that, as I'm searching for my melodies or my harmonies, he could help me find it by being in the other room with a piano and just play what I'm hearing, just help me to find it. So it was Peter Keys. We parked it here at Blackbird Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. We did all the music, and I wrote pretty much the bulk of the record, at least melodically, and a good deal of the lyrics at Sunset Sound. But I just felt like we were on such a roll of making the music that there was no need to take out hours of the day while we were only there for 10 days to try to cut vocals. I was like, I could do this back in Nashville. So that's what I did. Just came back to Nashville and just pushed myself. I think that Make Me a Believer is for sure an area that I had never stepped in before. Moonshiner's Run is a vocal tone I had never stepped into before. And then and Jump Out the Window. There's certain like areas that I for sure I'd never been before, but there are other areas that I had been before, like Best Friend. Like the verse style is like ruby red lipstick, kiss on a head, is the same as ain't never been much of the church type, but I believe in the last days. It's the same thing as Best Friend, but like again, it doesn't, it translates different over different music. So there were some things that were challenging and some that were just like that I have done, before a lot earlier in my career.
Would you say that those new vocal tones that you mentioned, especially for Make Me a Believer, would you say that they were somewhat comfortable for you to get to, or was that something that you kind of had to practice or learn how to sing it the right way?
It was taking my screaming voice and making it melodic, whereas like I have a record on I think it was 0 to 60, growing up in the gutter, no more fairy tales, hands on, and I'm screaming that shit, growing up in the gutter. But to morphing that into a melody, a singable melody that is still, like basically screaming it. That was that was a challenge. It's difficult, man. People like, it takes a lot of like humility to take yourself there in the booth when an engineer, a piano player, maybe a guitar player is sitting on the other side of the glass, and you're getting through these really hard areas and singing it terribly. That's not right, dude. Let's try this again. Like, so it's like, if you think about most people that like sing in the shower, singing off key and shit, take that to a booth in front of people and try to figure it out. A lot of humility.
I mean, he says that, and he was so like, we were all pretty floored at what a great singer he was the minute we got in there. I knew he could sing, but just having to be on the vocal mic, like when he was just coming up with ideas, he was really great. I mean, he likes to put himself down, but he's a lot better than he thinks he is.
That's not. I love you. I love you for saying that, man. Like, but I will say that, like, there's like I find my comfort zones, and like Shooter and I have talked about this, and I think overall my ignorance, so to speak, of like singing records like this, or how, I can hear it. I hear it in my head, but I get around it from my earlier influences and my cadences that are influenced by, a hip hop cadence, so to speak. It helps me to slide around the record in a new way. And I didn't realize how new it actually was until I started tuning in to current rock and roll, and it was just like, damn, no one sounds like us. Like we have a super unique sound because of that. It's just like it's a newness for Shooter and I,
Yeah.
that makes it awesome.
And that's a great point, because we are used to listening to you in a different kind of cadence than what we listen to here. So during that vocal recording process, or even during the writing process, like, did you think about the cadences as you were writing, or is this something that you both kind of figured out as you guys were starting to record?
Well, these, Shooter and I have a very similar inspiration, a pot of inspiration, so to speak, that we reach into. Like we came up influenced by a lot of the same shit. So in that sense, it's like, it's like when he said, when he laid down those two notes on Jump Out the Window, I was like, yeah, dude, that's it. And then all of a sudden it was like, I've been a missionary for the devil. It was just came to me. And then, you map out the melody, and then you fill in the blanks with the words. But, the melodies, my vocal melody is pretty instant, and so, but, that being said, John's guitar parts were pretty instant. Ted's bass parts, Jamie's drum parts, Shooter's piano and synth parts. Everybody is so well versed in their own particular instrument. It came together pretty quickly. I mean, we cut like 22 records, of which we picked 12, but we cut a lot.
Yeah.
We were on a roll, man.
Yeah, but there were a lot of moments too, though, like on Make Me Believer and the title track, where like Yelawolf was like, okay, I'm gonna do this cadence, da 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 da, and so we were like, we knew that he was gonna do that regardless of what the lyrics were. Same with like the thing where it's like da 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 da, like where he does the really quick thing in the first song, like that he knew what he's gonna do. So he had him and Jamie worked out the drum fill so that when he put his vocal there, it was gonna match perfectly, So that kind of stuff was really cool to watch go down, because it was like pre-planning, but not too
Yeah,
much.
for sure. Like no one song ever starts the same. Like that's a thing. I don't think any record in my career, other than, an acoustic guitar, a lot of times, acoustic guitar can lead a record quite a bit. Other than that, though, it's super random, and you don't know where it comes from, man. It's like, it's just grabbing some sort of magic that's floating around, and it's there, but then, you don't know where it's at, and then you snatch it out of nowhere. It's just, that's what makes making music still so fun. That'll never change, like you don't know where it comes from, and that's the whole excitement about going into the studio with no plans.
Yeah, it's like catching
trying to find it. Yeah, catching that butterfly, man.
That's what he said that one time, and I was like, that's exactly what it is.
Shooter, how did you feel challenged? How did Yelawolf help you kind of step out of your comfort zone for this record?
I think it was just like we both knew we were going to get to do something we really wanted to do. Like for me, like when I'm making records for myself, I'm always trapped in myself a little bit. Like, I'm always trying to do things, but I'm always kind of stuck being the singer. So in this scenario, to to kind of just have this like outlook of just like, hey man, let's make the coolest music, the coolest record we possibly can, like without any walls or ceilings, like, or floors. To be honest with you, it was just pretty spectacular. You know, it was just, when we came out the other end, we loved it so much. You know?
Dude, no walls, ceilings, or floors, just floating
in the void, man, in the abyss.
Yeah, I love that.
During the tracks that you guys released for this record, what track would you guys say like was the biggest challenge to kind of like finalize or create? I know you guys mentioned everything came out organic, but did you guys feel like you were struggling with any one of these?
I didn't. I thought it was smooth.
I have an answer for that. It wasn't a look. By the end of the week, it was last day. We were pretty exhausted, like
Okay,
just physically exhausted, you know. And you know, like people don't realize mental exercise is so tiring. Like it's like physically tiring, like creative mental exercise. If you're like searching for 10 days, just next, it like wears you if you're physically worn out, even though you haven't like moved a lot, like your mind has like wore you out. So by day 10 or whatever, everybody's kind of in there just sitting. John's like barely strumming on his guitar or whatever. And everybody's just slow motion. And I'm like, we got to have one more. We need to close it. And I think I might have smashed a Red Bull or like drank entire pot of coffee. And I told David Spring, I was like, man, just turn the mic on. Let me just jump in the booth and play with that idea. And I went in the booth and I basically what they call like holy ghosting, where you just basically freestyle a song melody. So, and that turned into Moonshiner's Run.
Oh, it was hilarious, man. Like basically just kind of map stuff.
Yeah. So I like mapped out the whole record and they're like, okay, let's do it. So, and but we needed a way out, and and like I said, man, again, that's just kind of like capturing something that was in the air and putting it down. But yeah, that it wasn't a challenge to create it, like for us to vibe and to create the song, but we were challenged, like we were right at the finish line, we were right there, and it was just like getting across that last little hump. And thank God we did, because like, that record's crazy.
I'm gonna get blood out of the stone, and we're like, we're squeezing, there's nothing coming, and then he's like, bam, and it just came all out, and we definitely did it.